Welcome to RCAirDogs.com. This is your one-stop source for RC planes. This is Flying Hank. Today we have an instructional tips and video on how to set up a gas fuel tank. Here we have a typical gas fuel tank. It's going to be a 3-line setup. We're going to have a carburetor line, a fill line, and a vent or overflow line. Okay, so let's get started with some basic parts required. Now, most of your fuel tanks automatically do come with parts, but we'll just go over them real quick. So basically here we have your fuel tank. We have your gas stopper. An important tip here is to make sure that it is a gas approved stopper. There is a difference between a glow fuel stopper and a gas stopper. Gas stoppers are typically brown in color or black, and it's very important to get the proper one in there for what type of fuel that you will be using. Okay, moving on to the inside of the tank. Most people don't see what's inside these tanks. We'll get a close overview here. We'll start out with a nice heavy clunk, and this is the clunk that you hear typically in the bottom of the tanks, and that clunk's main purpose is to stay at the bottom to feed the fuel to the carburetor. Nice heavy clunk. And then important tip here is to use the proper fuel line. You know, people sometimes say fuel line, but when using gas we want to use a good Tigan fuel line, gas approved. Typically it's yellow in color for gas. Using glow fuel, typically it's clear or blue or a pink color. And finally we have the brass tubing that will go into the tank and feed the lines. Okay, and then we have some miscellaneous parts here. We should have some good quality zip ties around. We also will need the gas cap and gas washer. Typically on a gas tank installation we'll use metal or aluminum washer and cap to get a good tight fit down on the tank. Out there is plastic caps and washers, but typically these are used on glow fuel tanks. Okay, and then an important item here that the camera is going to be hard to pick up here, but what this is this is a fuel line barb. It's made out of brass, and it is a barb that is meant to be soldered on your brass tube inside your tank. You will take your solder and solder this on, and what that does is that will prevent your fuel line from slipping off your brass tubing. You'll put your zip tie just behind that barb and tighten it up, and what that barb does is prevent this fuel line from coming off because of the weight of this clunk. Over a period of time, that weight hitting around as you're doing your maneuvers will pull that fuel line off that brass tubing unless you solder a good barb on the end. Very important factor. It's easily overlooked because they are so small, and you can forget to install those on your tank, so you make sure you get those on there. Okay, so moving right along, let's just put this tank together. This is a typical gas 3-line tank, and we'll start out with the carburetor line, and I've pre-assembled some of this to get the video along. So you have your carburetor line that will feed the carburetor of your engine. Sits in there real nice. And then you have your fill line. This line is responsible for filling the tank, and it will sit in here. Now, as you can see right here, the fill line will be half the distance as the carburetor line, because we do not want any interference in between these two clunks and these two lines. If you keep that nice separation there, you have no type of interference. So always remember, do not make both lines the same length, or you'll have your clunks and your tubings getting knotted up with each other, and that will do you no good. Okay, so the final copper brass tubing we will put in will be what they call the vent line or the overflow line, and this will sit at the top of the tank, and this is what is going to, when you fill the tank, you'll fill the tank with your fill line here, and then as the tank fills up, it will hit the top here and overflow into your vent or your overflow line. And then you would, at this time also, you would actually have these caps on here. I'm not going to put them on here right now because of time on the video, but you would put your caps on, and then you would tighten down the nice screw that comes with those caps. Tighten that down. Now here's an important tip when tightening down your washer and your cap. Okay, don't be He-Man here. That's a bad thing to do on tightening down this gas stopper. You can sometimes put too much pressure on the gas stopper and pinch it, and inadvertently cause a leak because you're pinching this gas stopper so hard with your cap and your washer. You want to do this a medium torque on it. As time goes on, you can increase the pressure on this bolt as the stopper gets older, and vibration will loosen things up, so just keep an eye on that. And then one more factor here before I leave you, and that is, this is important when running gas lines and gas tanks. This here is a fuel line that is about a year old, year and a half old. This is a brand new fuel line. And I'm going to see if the camera can pick this up. But here's what happens over time. You'll notice that the brand new fuel line is very, very flexible. That Tigan fuel line, it flexes, so it keeps that down into your fuel source all the time. But as this line gets old, approximately a year old to 2 years old, it will become very stiff, very brittle because of the gasoline we use on our gas and oil engines. And you can see this, that it's hard for me to get it to bop up and down because it's so stiff. So very important, about every year and a half, we should be changing these lines out in the tank. Of course, you'll notice your lines hardening up on the outside, but remember the inside lines, change those out. So we'd like to thank some of our parts provider today. We have the Durabro company that provides all types of accessories and hardware, and we also would like to thank a great fuel line supplier, Jersey Modeler. Dean over there makes great Tigan fuel. We give him a good hands out. He makes some good quality fuel. So that should do it. We appreciate your time. And until next time, this is Flyinghank. We'll see you at the flying field. Goodbye.